Okay, I made one Five Nights at Freddy's video. I thought I'd do another one. And I'm no good at theories when it comes to the FNAF. I prefer to watch Matt, Pat, and everyone else. But, sometimes questions arise from these theories and lore. And, I wanted to make, 5 questions, but I couldn't come up with 2 more. And I had actually come up with 5, but the 2 weren't that great. The 2 that weren't that great was, is there really only just one mastermind behind this? And is there, because in one instance, we get a different color of the purple guy, which is why I say maybe there's more than one. The second one, which was not important, which I'm trying to read. He was basically wondering who was the first, which was already asked. And I believe Matt Pat had answered, or is trying to answer, who was the first. So I'm going to chalk it up to this, just these 3 questions. These are questions that have had me curious for quite a while, and I've been trying to pick my brain apart as to figure out the answer to these questions. So let's start with 1 through 3, from lowest to highest of my own personal interesting questions. Number 3, which is, how is it that the spirits in FNAF 3 were able to corner William if they were still stuck in the Funtime animatronics? Because in one of the lores or stories, as William disassembled the original animatronics from the previous Freddy Fazbear locations, he melted them down and molded them together. And in the creation of the Funtime animatronics, it was stated that the animatronics acted like as though they were in pure agony of pain of being molded together. And yet, in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, in the ending, you are playing as the one of the dead children, and you've cornered William into that little room. 4 of them block his path. The 5th one chases him until he hides inside the Springlock bunny suit. And in doing so, he forgets that in the Springlock bunny suit, it's moist, it's wet, and it malfunctions. So what I'm basically saying is that there are inconsistencies. How is it that the ghost, the dead children, are free to haunt and trap William when at the same time they're stuck inside the animatronics, the Funtime animatronics? The second question that I have is, when does Elizabeth and the crying child truly die? Because it is stated that later that night, both the crying child and Michael are still alive. And it is also shown that in Sister Location, it is said that it takes place after the last Freddy Fazbear's location, which was in FNAF 1. Not only that, apparently after FNAF 1, it is it is assumed that Elizabeth died after being scooped up by Baby. And for the crying child, it also appears that he dies after Charlie dies. So, I guess when is it that they actually died? Because if their death takes place after Charlie's death, Charlie Emily, what would be the point of Charlie dying if their deaths takes place after Charlie? Now, here comes the number one question, which is none other than, why did William kill Charlie? If we are to assume or learn that the deaths of the crying child and Elizabeth take place after Charlie's death, because in Midnight Motorist, once you go through that secret path, you learn of it goes to later that night, which means he had done the dirty deed. William had deleted Charlie, Emily, Henry's daughter. And William goes to a bar. I don't even know if it's a bar or not, but he goes to a place that he's not allowed to be. He could be at a toy store, since it's called Junior's, after having a falling out. Because I believe he's still somewhat a business partner in the FNAF. In the Freddy's Fazbear department, because I think the fallout happens in FNAF 2, in between FNAF 2 and 1. And we've learned that it wasn't Henry who bailed out William, it was William who bailed out Henry. So we are left with questions of, why is it that William killed Charlie? Why was Charlie on the chopping block when Charlie should have been the least the least interesting person on the chopping block of his victims? Because one, it was confirmed that William bails out Henry when Henry's company's not doing so well. Two, we have established that the crying child dies after Charlie, because in Midnight Motorist, which takes place after the killing of Charlie, we have evidence to show that the crying child is still alive. And even when you see Michael inside the house watching TV, he basically states that, yeah, the crying child is still alive by telling him to leave him alone. He's had a rough day. And also with Elizabeth, we also know that sister location does take place after Freddy Fazbear's fall, because it says in the intro, it talks about the rise and fall of Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. It closing. So, these are my 3 questions that I've had for quite some time that have really bugged me. There might be more questions that people can make out of this, but that's all I've got to say. I hope that these reach the attention of the master theorists. And that's all I got to say. Thank you and good night.